are live. This is the market update. I'm your host, Bill Noble. If you need a roadmap in crypto, subscribe to this channel. Turn on alerts so you know when we're going live. And if the content works for you, smash the like button and leave a comment down below. Today, we're talking Elon, CZ, all the FUD that's out there, plus your crypto TA and legacy TA that you need to know heading into the new moon and the holiday season. Let's welcome who's on the stream. We have Richard Barrios here, Augusta, Georgia. Aaron talking about GLDN under $1. That's tax loss selling. We'll talk about that. That's hitting the bond market today. Joseph Ryan here from California, Driftless Crypto, Spin, right? Good afternoon. Okay, Aaron S., lots of coins making new lows. That's right. In other words, tax loss selling, like the more it's down, frequently the more it pays you to sell. Okay, that goes on up until a point, probably until the new moon, and then everybody goes, okay, you know, what do I want to hold that's recession proof? Something, an interesting theme that I'm going to keep up on, you know, probably for the next 2 weeks. Okay, lots of coins making new lows. Good day from Tennessee. Andre says it's Dump City. Okay, SKT Con giving me some love from Leeds, England. We appreciate that. Okay, Nicola is here, and SKT says, is cryptocurrency in trouble? Okay, that's a good question. That's the question that we're going to be answering today. I think. Is crypto in trouble? Now, one of the things I want to start with is Elon Musk. Okay. Here's how it was supposed to go. Elon was going to take over Twitter. And then the only way Elon was going to revive Twitter was to pivot it towards crypto. So if you look at the catchy Doge headline or thumbnail that we had for today from Kathy Crypto, you know, we've got the Doge dog walking Elon across the street, meaning the only way Elon was really going to revive Twitter after the shock headlines were over was to pivot the whole group towards Twitter. Now, you know, Elon is doing a poll that's basically saying, you know, do you want me to resign? I'll abide by this poll. Okay. So he's either testing whether or not there are bots out there that are still active, or, you know, based on what's happening with Tesla shares, that Elon wants to turn it over to another CEO. So free speech, I guess, lasts as long as share prices hold up. Now, interesting tweet from Edward Snowden about Twitter finding a new CEO is that Snowden is like, I'd be happy to take over and take payment in crypto. Very interesting because, again, in order for Twitter to pivot and survive, it's going to have to tilt towards crypto. Now, speaking of that, can't put it in the title, but, you know, a certain, oh, didn't share the screen. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Wouldn't be a live stream if I didn't forget to share once. So we have a former public official in the United States with an NFT offering. The NFT offering came out at $99 and it went as high as 0.8 ETH before it came off. Why is this significant? Let's look at the Twitter following. This is significant because according to research that I saw this morning, this NFT collection onboarded more people into crypto than many Web3 projects this year. In other words, people who were not into crypto got into crypto to get these trading cards. What does that tell you? Well, it tells you that the fans of this political figure are going to use crypto as a mechanism to vote for him. Now, I'm sure a lot of crypto NFT traders are more than happy to cash in $99 for 0.8 ETH. That's not the point. The point is this individual's status on social media, on a big social media platform, is up for review on the anniversary of January 6th. And people are going to be able to use this NFT to potentially interact with this individual and let this NFT revive what is probably a dead campaign for 2024. In other words, if you hold this NFT, you can participate in XYZ events. This is somebody turning to crypto really at a moment where he has almost no other choice. And if this works, and this idea of onboarding people into crypto who are not normally in crypto, when the tax loss selling and the Binance FUD is over, and that it will be over, right? What'll be left is low prices from tax loss selling and a whole new generation of people entering the space. Now, let's talk about macroeconomics briefly. Okay. Homebuilder sentiment slumps to decade lows, longest streak on record. So what is happening in the United States? Recession was trending over the weekend on Twitter, right? I did a short on it and I got almost as many views as I had followers. Okay. I did one on Instagram. It's crypto.noble on Instagram. Put the same recession video there. And I got 900 views with 100 followers. So people are out there looking to understand a recession. What I can tell you from Christmas shopping over the weekend is that I had to wait 20 minutes in line to pay at a discount retailer, TJ Maxx. Okay, at stores where I was spending like $75 or more, it was a 5-minute wait if there was a wait at all. Also, I saw a store that was otherwise dead perk up with activity when they offered 25% off the whole store. Matter of fact, I went to 2 places like that. So in order to boost sales, higher end retailers or retailers that sold, products that caught, non-Walmart, non-discount establishments were making 25% markdowns to get beat up consumers in their stores, which I think is really interesting that home building sentiment's falling out of bed. You have to wait 30 minutes in line at TJ Maxx to pay, yet, okay, they're selling crypto with reckless abandon, okay? And one of the reasons that they're selling crypto is because interest rates are going up, okay? By the way, this is the moon cycles. We can now talk about these things. I'm going to be working on back testing and showing them, but I just wanted to put them on TradingView that, sometimes full moons are bottoms and new moons are tops. By no means is that investment advice or accurate, over time, but we're going to see because the new moon's coming up on the 23rd. And I'm thinking that's the end to the tax loss selling. So if we take the moon out, because I just wanted to show that as kind of like a coming attraction, because I can talk more about GAN, the moon, planetary alignments going forward. We can see that there's an uptick in 10-year note yields. So the debate over the weekend undoubtedly is the Fed going to take Fed funds to 4%? And of course, if they do, that's not good for crypto. Okay. So is anything good for crypto these days? No, nothing is. Seriously. Crypto cannot catch a break. But the good news is, from a TA standpoint, okay, there's resistance in the 10-year note interest rate. So unless there's a huge breakout here on news that I'm just not familiar with about economic strength or the Fed, this should be the top in rates for this move. Now, I'm going to do some TA on Bitcoin and Ethereum, even though it's not very exciting. Okay, I think we need to know where we are at a tactical level. So in Ethereum, 1174 was a very big support point. You had this sort of epic wick down, and then it came back above 1174. Expect these wicks over the holidays, right? If this is the range between 1200 and 1175, They may do nothing but wick below it and wick above it. Notice there's nothing going on here except tax loss selling, unless we have a CZ problem, which I want to weigh in a minute. Okay, so the Bitcoin chart went from looking okay to looking basically terrible, although, all right, I'm very interested in this DeMark Elliott wave formation in Bitcoin, right? So in Bitcoin, it looks to me like the downtrend that started at 18,000, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and this morning's new low would be 5, right? Let's blow it up so you can see, you know, this was the end of the 3 wave over here. Hopefully that's viewable. The 4 wave ends with that high uptick at 16,800, right? That was off economic news. And then there was the puke this morning. So Sydney 747 is here. Welcome. Okay. Spin is saying the rounded nature of this is a concern, right? You know, when crypto sits still, it's never a good thing. Okay. You know, so it's really interesting that a drop, dip buyers were actually there. Okay. Elijah's welcome. Assalamu alaikum to you. Okay. And, you know, Nicola likes these sessions. So, oh, we have Wrong Again is here. Hello. All right. So as we look at the Bitcoin chart, right, this wick was probably about CZ and Binance, right? Now, just to talk this through, Binance is said to be insolvent. Once upon a time, I worked at an investment bank, and at the tail end of the 2008 crisis, you know, everybody was hunting for the next blow up, right? It was Bear Stearns. That was an investment bank. Merrill Lynch went down. Lehman went down, right? AIG, a giant insurance company, had problems, right? Everybody was looking for the next blow up. And the next blow up were 2 investment banks, one of which I worked for, that not only did not have the toxic assets on their balance sheet, but they were fully hedged and were paying to be fully hedged going all the way back to 2005. However, people became so hysterical, for good reason, that they started to pull their money out of banks that didn't have problems. No, it just wasn't a run on the bad banks. It was a run on every bank. And that ended when the Treasury just said, enough. We're going to make everybody we're going to print $10 billion and make everybody put $10 billion on their balance sheets so all depositors could calm down. And the investment bank I worked for worked out, you know, like a preferred stock deal with Warren Buffett, right? Warren Buffett earned 9% to loan the company money, helping it, you know, he was essentially making a bet that this company that I worked for would survive. Now, is there a Warren Buffett or a Hank Paulson or a U.S. Treasury going to help CZ? I don't know, but there's a lot of speculation and a lot of FUD on the connection between Binance and FTX. And there's almost no discussion about what would happen if Binance went down and if there could be a partnership with another entity that could help Binance, you know, not experience a toxic run on its bank or its assets, or you know what I'm saying, right? In other words, if everybody goes to pull out of Binance all at the same time, that's probably not factored into Binance's risk management model. Okay. Is there somebody out there that would help CZ, right? That's one question. The next question is, you know, is Binance solvent? And you can add every other crypto exchange after that. We don't know that. We don't know. But this is what we do know. We do know that the crypto community is addicted to FUD. Okay. Now they're spreading FUD into the Binance universe when the FUD really should remain in the FTX universe. Various crypto news sites have rightly shown news clips of lawyers saying that the charges against FTX are conspiracy to do something. right? In order to have a conspiracy, you've got to have more than one person. So SBF going down is only the beginning. All those close to SBF are also probably going to get charged. Now, what does that have to do with CZ? It's an open question. The other question to ask yourself is, if CZ and Binance go down, does crypto go down with it? Right? In other words, if Binance collapses, do crypto prices collapse? And does the crypto ecosystem collapse? Well, the answer that most people are saying, at least they were on Friday, was, yes. Yes. If they take down CZ, you're going to have shockingly low prices in crypto. But let me ask another question, which I was kind of active on my Twitter, and I can expand on it now. Whose interest in whose interest is it to have Binance go down and take crypto with it? Like, why is the crypto community so obsessed with that? Like back in May, when I was like, get to the chopper, sell in May and go away, protecting your portfolio and your kids' college funds, nobody thought there was a problem. Now they see a problem around every corner. So I ask again, in whose interest is it to see Binance and crypto go down? It's got to be crypto's enemies, which is governments, right? It's governments. I mean, if FTX was liaising with U.S. government regulators, right? And the U.S. government regulators were somehow not familiar with what was going on at FTX, what does that look like? The optics and the politics of that are horrendous. So it appears to be in everyone's interest to divert attention away from the fact that FTX was the biggest fraud and the biggest conspiracy in the history of finance. Think about SBF's Good Morning America tour. Like, why was SBF apologizing on every news media and then arrested before he could testify in front of Congress? And when that didn't stop the reporting, they tried to shift the whole narrative over to Binance and CZ. Meanwhile, everybody this morning, like I said, they were all selling crypto. They're all selling crypto off this. All right. If you wanted to take down the crypto ecosystem, you would say and do things that would lead to the collapse of Binance. Now, maybe Binance has done things, again, we don't know. I'm not apologizing or making any reference or idea about Binance's finances. What I am saying is, who benefits from the CZ FUD? I would say everybody who's about to get charged by the government in the SBF case, and it's anybody who wants to take down crypto. Okay. Now, we know the Federal Reserve, when we go up here, we just take a look at equities, right? Got another yellow card. Gotta not get a red card. Okay, let's just take a look at equities. Okay. So I think one of the other things that is hurting crypto is that, stocks have effectively gone down only on recession fears and Fed tightening fears, right? It's like it hit this giant trend line. I made fun of this trend line. I said everybody was looking at it and too many people were looking at it. And it looks like everybody was looking at it, but people tried to buy it anyway and equities got slammed. So there's a lot of people. It's the worst year ever. If you hold a portfolio, it's called a traditional 60-40 portfolio. If you held 60% stocks and 40% bonds, this is the worst year ever for what's considered a very strategically conservative asset allocation. In English, people in legacy got wrecked last year, and they probably have assets that they can take tax losses on. And they're doing it as we speak while simultaneously freaking out about the Fed, right? Like, my comment is the Fed cannot sustain interest rates above a level like 4.5%, because the US government can't pay the interest on the debt at those levels. And no one cares about that when tax loss selling is happening. Matter of fact, one thing I'm just assuming is that between now and the end of the year, I can talk about charts, right? I can, be intellectually honest and say, this chart looks terrible, right? And, if you move over to crypto going sideways has never meant anything good, right? In other words, these ranges that Bitcoin has been in have usually ended up badly, right? In other words, this one was a triangle, okay? So, you have triangles, boxes, okay? And every time that there's like a false breakout, Bitcoin kind of gets wrecked. There's also this idea that miners have problems, right? But I don't want to get too far away from my CZ point before I finish this, before I dive into TA. Nobody benefits from the CZ narrative except the enemies of crypto. And the enemies of crypto want to limit your freedom and my freedom. So it's really hard for me to sit here and watch this carnage and watch the crypto system effectively embarrass itself by cheering for the demise of, like, one of the big vertebrae in the spine of crypto, which is Binance. Like, if they blow up, they blow up. But I've been somewhere in the investment banking world where when everyone was blowing up, we were just the next target down the line. So I know nobody feels sorry or nobody likes or whatever you want to say about, public figures like CZ, but just remember that even if they do blow up, they were not sponsoring Formula One race teams. They did not have a sports arena named after them. Now, is that going to stop people from selling crypto? Probably not. Okay. And one of the things now, moving from CZ over to this whole idea, it's almost like I got to put this on a log scale. So this is a Bitcoin miner HUT 8, I believe. And from the looks of things, Bitcoin miners had Bitcoin that they could have sold, but they decided to hodl. And as Bitcoin loses value, okay, they borrowed money against that Bitcoin. Okay. And miners could be in trouble. So this is HUT 8. I mean, it's below $1. It's at 88 cents. And it was at 15 at the top, right? Like, let's see. Basically, Christmas last year, it was at $9. Now it's below 90 cents. Okay. So frequently, the 2018 cycle ended when Bitcoin miners basically puked all their Bitcoin out. It was a completely different scenario. Back then, it was about mining hardware getting upgraded. All right. Now, this is Marathon Digital. This is probably one of the more levered funds. So let's just take a look at some Williams oscillator action to find out how mature this trend is. Okay. So I'm putting the alligator on the daily chart. And one thing you're going to notice is that, one thing's about alligator theory. Alligator is a series of moving averages. So instead of trying to figure out, like, gee, should I use the 21-day, the 50-day? Alligator just kind of gives you a collection of moving averages to look at, just these three. So when you have moving averages like this, and the theory in Williams is when the price action gets very far away from, say, the mouth of the alligator, that's the red and the blue averages. Let's just put the label on this for the recording. Okay. So when something gets too far away from the alligator, what you're looking for is the possibility of a reversal candlestick. You're looking for a reversal day, or you're looking for a quiet day where sellers just kind of get stopped, meaning stopped as in not stopped out, but like somebody says, okay, this is enough. Now, if Bitcoin miners are going to not blow up, Bitcoin miners should stabilize in price in the next 5 days. But if Bitcoin miners continue to be down only, okay, that's probably a countdown to what I would think is a flash crash, right? Where crypto would just flash down and come back, right? As all these people liquidate all at once. I guess what I'm trying to say is it seems like this trade where everybody looks for a collapse from Binance and maybe everyone looks for a calamity from Bitcoin miners may or may not take place. Okay, I wanted to point out one other thing this morning. Interesting that ETHE, okay, if you can look at the screen in the corner, ETHE, which we expected to be down into like December 20th and then up next year, okay, is now down 3%. But ironically, GBTC, which is the Bitcoin instrument in the equity market, is actually up today, which is really interesting. Really interesting. Okay. Now, another point to note that just came in, and we're going to stay true to our thumbnail, is that Dogecoin now has a larger market cap than Coinbase. So it shocks me that Elon passed on Doge as a way to monetize the Twitter acquisition. It's also interesting that the market now thinks that, you know, a meme coin is worth more than an exchange. Like you look at this and you look at the CZ FUD. Have we reached a point where this has become ludicrous? Like I was a Dogecoin fan because I thought Elon was going to use Doge to revive Twitter. I think whoever he installs as CEO, that's got to be the first thing he's done because a former elected official is doing it and was able to garner attention for several days. And who knows what that digital asset could mean for that individual's future. Why wouldn't Twitter do the same thing? But in this case, you have a Dogecoin angle, which makes it easy to talk about for a news show. And you have this idea that people think Coinbase is worthless. Okay. So Wrong Again is asking, do we have a fib number target on the downside for Bitcoin? Great question. So let's just take a look and let's, I understand that people like this. If you do like it, hit the like button. Okay. So if you're new, right, we do this. It's live TA, right? We just like pull up the chart and we try to look at like where the downside targets are. Okay. So let's start off with some basic fib work. Okay. So this is the daily chart. And I'm interested in seeing whether or not Bitcoin can hold the 62% retracement of its recent up move, which is 16.6K. Okay. Normally, when something can hold the 62% retracement, usually pretty good, even if what they do is they wick down and they wind up coming back above it. So all eyes on 16.6. Okay. ETH, I don't think is faring as well, but it's not dead. In other words, in ETH, there's a huge battle going on right at the 62% retracement, which is at 1180. Okay. So those are the big fib numbers. And the real question is, does anybody care about fib numbers when everyone's trying to do tax loss selling? I just think there's too much FUD in the market. I think they're going after CZ because that's just the thing to be done, right? In May, it wasn't. Like in May or in April, if you said everybody was going to be talking about Binance being insolvent in December, they would have said you were crazy. Now, it's almost like you're crazy if you don't think Binance goes down. The good news is all that FUD is out there and ETH and Bitcoin are holding technical levels. Now, to be balanced, let's just look at ETH and say, all right, if ETH comes unglued, what happens? Okay, and that's when I would basically turn to hidden pivot analysis. So one of the things that you would look at is in this type of analysis. Actually, let's go to a 4-hour chart. Okay, so on this 4-hour chart, we draw this hidden pivot system. Okay. All right, and the idea is, you know, if this down move that started at 1600 has another leg, where would this go? Well, it's not a pretty picture, right? In other words, this thing is saying the way this system works. Whoops. Just get this over here. Right. So if ETH if ETH can't get back above 1200, the risk is 1048, and in a worst case scenario, it's 750. So to state the obvious, if Binance collapses or every crypto exchange collapses, 750 ETH is what's going to happen. 750 ETH is what's going to happen. Okay. JP Stanley says, I'm DCAing Sol, Dot, Near, and Avalanche. What are your thoughts on these coins? All right. So let's take a look at Avalanche. Okay. Let's take a look at Avalanche on Coinbase. So it depends on how you look at this, right? There's like the short-term angle and the longer-term angle. The short-term hidden pivot angle puts the worst case scenario in Avalanche at 9.9. Okay, so just under 10. So if that's how you want to handle Avalanche going into next year, there's two ways to do that, not investment advice. You either hold off on DCAing into Avalanche until it gets below $10. That way, if it blows by 9.9 and your downside target actually is 5.3, because there are different ways to draw this hidden pivot analysis, right? Like worst case scenario for Avalanche number 1 is 9.9. Worst case scenario for Avalanche part 2 is 5.5. Obviously, this requires a Binance nuke, right? I mean, it requires a Binance nuke. It requires actually more than one thing at the same time, right? If Avalanche loses half of its value from here, which unfortunately is what happened in 2008 during that selling climax, right? That's what happened. Now, if you think FTX was the selling climax, okay, then 9.9 is where you would see a juicy level if everybody puked it for tax loss selling. Okay, Polkadot, it's a hard chart for me to even look at because everybody seemingly gave up on this. And this is probably something interesting for the next cycle. Okay, so here's Polkadot on a 4-hour chart. And let's try the hidden pivot analysis on this. I do something else here. So if you start at this peak, that low, and draw it there, okay, Polkadot should have stopped at 4.6. It didn't. Okay, let's draw it another way. In other words, where's the bottom in Polkadot? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Okay, so if Polkadot holds 4.5, that would be constructive, right? If you're doing dollar cost averaging, this becomes the opposite of the way you would think about levels when the market was going up. If you're doing DCA, you want to imagine the most ludicrous levels possible. and save a lot of your ammo in case it got down there. I mean, if you were DCAing in Polkadot and Polkadot went to 7, would you really be upset? Probably not, because that would represent a change in the crypto ecosystem. But if you're looking for DCA, you're saying, okay, it's going to continue to go down until it gets ludicrous. And what you don't want to happen is you don't want to have all your money in something at 4.5 and then have it go to 3.2. So if Polkadot breaks 4.5, you can hold off on DCA. Just let them finish their process of either Binance gets liquidated. Everybody panics because they're afraid they're going to get liquidated, which is even worse. Because one thing about the Binance story that I keep forgetting is, how does it end? Right? Like, the people attacking Binance are people who are enemies of crypto, even if they're just looking for ratings and clicks and views on Twitter and YouTube. Right? The ultimate voice behind that propaganda are the enemies of crypto. And it's clever on their part, because how does the Binance narrative end? Unless somebody comes in and does a merger or gives Binance capital, the story never seemingly ends, right? It never ends. So there has to be some sort of attention-grabbing headline, some sort of major move to preserve Binance in order to preserve crypto, or the crypto market just has to be repriced for endless FUD and scandal, and no one's ever going to touch this ever again. So these levels are the ones that I think have to keep in mind. Okay, Farmer Sam Forrest is here. What did I miss? Okay, Elon is trying to give up on Twitter. That's a bad news. If an elected official in the United States can have a PR pulse off NFTs, crypto is going to be a platform used by a lot of people next year as a springboard. I believe commodities will be a big deal on the blockchain, as I'm sure you've heard. Okay. So we're asking about ROSE. All right. So when you have a market like this in down only mode, actually, let's go over here. Let's do this instead. Let's go to DeMark, because if we're going to try to play the bottom picking game, then really the only place that's worth doing that is with DeMark. So somebody brought up MATIC. There's a guy on Twitter that I respect who is after this like no one's business. Like, he's basically saying, see ya at 30 cents. It's getting hard to argue with that. From a DeMark point of view, there's a 13 bottom in MATIC, and you probably got 3 more down days headed into support at either 73 cents or possibly 70 cents. So I don't think there's an argument to catch the falling knife until there's an actual wick down followed by a reversal, right? Hey, ROSE. Okay. Really, I think you got to work off almost 4-hour charts. So the good news from ROSE is there is a 13 bottom right today. Now, it's better to have confirmation that it's actually going to go the other way. But it is interesting that at least up here, a 13 bottom did stop the downtrend back in early December, and there was some sort of uptick from there. Also, DeMark work shows the 5-wave down off FTX. So I guess the answer is it a good idea to take a shot in ROSE? Not investment advice, but, as they sell crypto during this tax loss selling period. Now, we have now entered a period where it gets emotional as it can. There's nothing more emotional than taxes, right? So tax loss selling, panic selling, selling off endless FUD, like the enemies of crypto have literally got their foot on crypto's throat, and people on crypto Twitter and tax loss sellers, they're acting in their own self-interest, but, they're piling on as well. Okay. Sam Forrest just says, just short the market and smash the likes. Okay. We definitely appreciate you hitting the like button. That helps us, particularly since I'm on a new channel now. I am on my own. I can do what I want and say what I want, and that's refreshing. So if you like refreshing, hit the like button. Okay, QNT, like everything else, making sort of ugly new lows. And honestly, QNT, you want to see it above 100.7. One of the ways you can use this hidden pivot analysis is to say, all right, based on this, the bottom should be at 100.7. The fact that it continues to overshoot that and possibly trade below it is not particularly exciting to me. In other words, the FUDsters are breaking charts left and right. Now, on a 4-hour chart, the good news is if it stays down, you're at a DeMark 11, you may have a 13 bottom coming up in QNT very soon. Okay, here you've already got the 13 bottom. And what I can say about this structure is when you get a 13 bottom and then you start to count the 4 in the other direction, if there's a reversal after you've gone 4 counts in the other direction or in the same direction, there can be a powerful reversal. So if you're a religious person about QNT and you believe it can go back to 138 and you want to take a trading shot with a stop, okay. I could come up with a rationale where that might make some sense, right? And I'm not going to steer anybody away from DCA. I'm just going to steer anybody away from doing DCA before tax loss selling is done. If tax loss selling is done near the end of the year, okay, near that new moon, then I think that's when, you start looking at, all right, is this where I take my shot? Because you want this market to at least show you that it can have a positive 2023. Okay. Zooman 100 is here. Bubba Smith says, you'll never be alone, Bill. Sir, hats off to you. I very much appreciate that sentiment. It actually leans a lot. Feeling reality is looking at Uniswap. Okay, let's try to get Uniswap going. Okay, so Uniswap on a daily chart, there's a 9 bottom, and then sometimes there's a move in the opposite direction, and that can result in the trend continuing. So Uniswap on the daily DeMark chart, not very exciting. Okay, you may be looking at 4 more, like another day and a half of downside in Uniswap. Okay, let's try to look at weekly. And then I'm going to start wrapping it up. So here's the thing about Uniswap. The 13 bottom should have been the final puke. There was a 1-day rally, and now it's starting to come off again. In small altcoins that were very big 2 years ago, you always want to ask yourself, if you buy them, what's the upside target? Right? Like, okay, if I bought Uniswap at 5, would it go back? Could it go back to where it was up here at 9? That was the high uptick back in July, right? Or will Uniswap go to 2 and make a new low, which would make for a nice DeMark Elliott wave setup, even though it's probably not fun for Uniswap holders, because Uniswap going back to 2021 with the high at 45, there was a leg 1 down, a leg 2, a huge bleed for leg 3, an uptick in July on wave 4, and now we may be sitting waiting for wave 5. So if Uniswap ever made a new low for the move, even though that's unpleasant for anybody who holds it, and trust me, I get the stress of watching stuff bleed out. Trust me. Okay. Waiting for that opportunity for that DeMark Elliott wave to tell you that it's done could be the way to go. It could be the way to go. And then, in the meantime, it's going to take a fundamental event for the Binance FUD to stop and the tax loss selling to end. My concluding points: the Binance FUD, you got to ask yourself who's generating it and are they friendly to crypto? Are they trying to apologize or divert attention from the horror of what went on at FTX? And 3, when you dollar cost average, you want to make sure you say to yourself, what's the worst case scenario? You can use charts that I generate here on the market update. We're always open to doing charts for people live, or your own chart work. What's the worst case scenario in case things get out of control and there are events that I can't see on charts, or I can't even, come up with scenarios for? So know the worst case scenario. And remember, anybody who wants to take Binance down, unless they're already down, that FUD benefits those who hate crypto. Spin, salute to you, Andre. Have a great day. All right. We will see you next time.